Welcome back to P3. I'm again joined by hypnotherapist Rosa Livingstone. Rosa, there's so many myths around the issue of hypnotherapy. People think that it's just really weird, but really, as you're saying, it's just a way of accessing the part of your brain where you can focus. You talked about beliefs, how important it is to change our beliefs, but you're saying it's really hard to change it by just talk therapy.
Yes, it is. The subconscious mind is the part of your mind that holds those beliefs that we talked about that are formed in the first 5 years of your life. And then the logic comes after it begins to form and is pretty well in place in our 20s. Now, consciously, we know that we want to stop biting our nails, we want to stop smoking, we want to stop doing these things that for us don't feel right. And yet, the critical mind, or the logic part of us, is only 5% of who we really are. And so that part of us cannot change a belief. It has to be done at the subconscious level.
So you have to go back into the subconscious in order to kind of rewrite that code, if you will.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To reprogram the brain to say,
Yes.
You're not in danger, you're not a bad person, you're all these kind of beliefs that we encode into our brain.
Unfortunately, we start off so young with no beliefs, and everything that we do is based on love, feeling love, or the lack of it. And most of the traumas are based on a feeling of lack. We're not worthy, we're not good enough, and that will self-sabotage, because as long as that belief is written there, whatever you do at some point, because the subconscious mind, you have to understand, is very protectionary. And it does not judge. You believe it, it'll do it. And so you self-sabotage, and you're going, why am I doing this? Exactly.
And you're saying this goes back to deep emotional issues.
Absolutely.
I mean, what I'm amazed at when you talk about things like, whatever, addictions, fears, phobias people have of spiders or germs, whatever, you're saying those phobias are not just, I'm scared of spiders. You're saying those are connected to emotional issues in your past.
Absolutely,
Randall. It seems, it's hard for most of us to see the connection between I'm scared of spiders and, you know what, you're afraid of being alone or something.
Absolutely it is.
It's amazing.
Phobias are huge. I mean, there's agoraphobia, there's fear of spiders, there's fear of heights, there's all kinds of fears, and yet that fear is just the subconscious mind attaching itself to a spider, when a client can go back and think, well, I remember it sort of started when I was 10 years old and I saw this big wolf spider. It's not. You take it back, you take that fear, you always use the fear in what I do. We just use the emotion to guide the person back. And it'll be something where they were feeling alone, or they were feeling intense fear, because perhaps there's that abandonment theory. I had one client, it's because her mother walked away and she wasn't old enough to walk and follow her mother.
And a little event like that, being lost in a mall, doing something like that, for a kid, that becomes a trauma event that gets encoded, and it might come out as fear of spiders, it might come out as an inability to bond in relationships.
Absolutely.
When you talk about past life regression, what does that mean? Are you saying going beyond the life that we are living now? Are you talking about, I was once a goat, I was once something else? Like, what do you mean by that?
I don't know if you're a goat.
But what do you mean by that?
What I mean is, there are two types of hypnotherapy. There is clinical hypnotherapy, and there's transpersonal hypnotherapy. One deals with, the clinical is whatever happens, we're always looking at the root of the issue, wherever that may lead. If it's in this life, it's clinical.
Right.
Many clients come to me with nail biting, or let's say anxiety, and we're looking to find the root of their emotional issue, and all of a sudden, boom, they're in another life. So,
whoa. What do you mean they're in another life? You can't just say that to me and not get it. What does that mean?
That really means that a person has gone to another time when they lived as a human. So they were a spirit living another human existence.
Okay, because you just, I mean, because I'm tracking with you in the clinical stuff. I'm like, yeah, I get that. I see the connection. Yeah, I understand attachment theory. I understand the kid. And now you're saying sometimes you're interacting with a client and they start giving you stories or experiences that don't make sense in the current life they've lived?
Because they're not there, and it's very obvious they're not there.
What do you mean they're not there? Like, this is crazy to me.
Well, I'll give you an example. So I'm taking the client, I'm saying, feel the feeling, we're going to go back to the first time, very first time, 3, 2, 1, you're there. And they go, oh. And they'll look down at their feet and they'll go, oh, I'm wearing these really funny shoes. And then I'll get them, I'm bringing up the memory, so I give them questions, never leading. So what's going on? And might be a woman sitting in my chair, she's a man in this other life. But the interesting thing is the root, the subconscious mind is the seed of every single emotional memory you've ever had. So it encodes every memory. So if you can expand your mind and think spiritually, then and there are certainly many religions that believe in reincarnation, that we have had experiences before, and we're carrying, what I'm finding in my work is we're carrying unresolved issues, unresolved purposes into our lives, sometimes life after life. It's a recurring theme, and it's what's reoccurring here.
It's trying to be resolved.
It's trying to be
So this
resolved.
is the idea of the transmigration of the soul. The soul moves forward. It gets, because your work isn't done as a human yet. You still have issues to work out, and so you get, you know, for a lot of people that, I mean, obviously the reincarnation is not anything new. It's been around for as long as human beings have had beliefs, religious or spiritual beliefs. And you're saying you're tapping into this ancient idea of reincarnation.
Yes.
Is there any spiritual tradition that you draw from personally to help you understand these issues?
No, I mean, I'm a former Catholic who,
Oops.
that we do not believe in any of this. I mean, yes, Christ died and rose again. However, it's a personal feeling. I mean, for the last 20 years, I've been questioning what else is out there, and going to a fabulous school where I got my training, which is the Coastal Academy of Hypnotic Arts and Sciences. We were able to learn both, and it made sense to me because, I mean, have you not had a déjà vu, or that feeling, God, I just met this person, and they feel so very like I've met them before. It's just precognitive recognition. It's that memory of times past. We get that. We have that so buried deep in our subconscious mind that it comes up when we're in a subconscious state, because there's no logic mind to go,
you're like, I can't make sense of what's going on. Rosa, I'm taking another quick break, but I want to finish my conversation with you, because former Catholic, believing in reincarnation now and past lives, we got to explore more of this about the spirituality that's connected with hypnotherapy. More with hypnotherapist Rosa Livingston, and P3 continues. Welcome back to P3. I'm again joined by hypnotherapist Rosa Livingstone. Rosa, we've been talking about this issue of past life regression. It's just really interesting. I mean, you're a former Catholic. You've obviously embraced a larger or different understanding of spirituality, one that makes sense for you of some of the experiences you've had in therapy with people where they are experiencing things that don't make sense from the life they've lived. Give me some more examples.
Oh, my goodness, there have been, you know, I recall right off the bat there was a young woman that came to me, and she's had this thing about choking. She, certain foods she cannot eat because she couldn't swallow them properly, and we thought, okay, symptom of an emotion, that's what I've been taught, let's just regress, go to the root of the issue, and she was literally an African woman. This was not her heritage today, and she was being dragged by her neck with a noose, And
so she begins to recall some of these kinds of things.
Yeah, it's not.
See, these are things. I mean, that's what's trouble for me, and I'm a little skeptic of these. So I'm just being honest with you, right?
It's all right.
I go, there's no way you can scientifically verify that, and yet you're saying there's so many of these experiences out there. I mean, you mentioned to me one at the break of someone who being able to play piano when they're in their subconscious, but when they're in their conscious, they can't.
Absolutely.
I mean, those kinds of things are bizarre, and yet you're saying there's too much of it in the literature and to make sense of it. There's no way to scientifically verify it.
Unfortunately not, and there's many variables that they would need to use in order to scientifically prove that this is what it is. Yeah, you have people like Dr. Brian Weiss and Raymond Moody and several others that have had, you know, years and years of working with people, and they're all talking about, you know, other times that, you know, they can verify they were so-and-so, and this was the year, and this was what was going on, and they remember what they wore, and their names, and children especially, and those are the best because they don't have a lot of experience. And I remember a case of twins that were speaking a language that their parents didn't understand, and they took them to the psychiatrist. It wasn't one of Dr. Weiss's patients, but regardless, these children were speaking Aramaic.
It's an ancient,
very ancient language.
Middle Eastern language.
Yes, right. Absolutely. And it was a linguistics person at some university. Anyways, it was these children were able to communicate with this language. How did they know?
Right, you're like,
It's
this is very
memory.
bizarre. So again, these are the idea of the transmigration of the soul, that the soul moves along in history is nothing new. It's been around a long time. Buddhism and other religious traditions have these beliefs in there, and they see it as a way for human beings to evolve, to grow, to move through our emotional issues. But regardless of whether a person believes in that, you're saying this modality, this way of interacting with people is still effective. It still works. Whether you believe it or not, it still works.
Regardless of whether you think, oh my gosh, what was that? Was that really real? And talking to them about, well, how did it feel for you? Regardless of whether they think it's real, it's amazing to see how it affects the issue that they came in with in the beginning.
Hey, give me some of these stories, because that, to me, it speaks so powerfully. Give me some stories of people who've come in and they're able to find freedom from experiencing this with you.
There have been so many where, it can be just... The last gentleman, I just remember him. He pops to mind, and he came to me to stop smoking. His doctor had said, you got to do this. Your blood pressure, it's compromising your health. And he's in his 60s, going, I've got it down, but I can't seem to let it go. And we worked with him again. Smoking, it's not about stress release. It's not about it makes them feel good. It's really an emotional reason why they smoke. And this man went back in his life to a time as a child. It was a situation with his father. And he has since, we did 2 sessions, and he has since called me and said, my triglycerides are normal. I'm feeling great. I no longer smoke. You saved my life.
2 sessions?
2 sessions.
Just going back to that issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It seems like almost like a magic trick, but you're saying it's not. You're not doing anything, though, really.
I'm
you're helping
guiding.
them.
I'm guiding someone to find the memory that's already there. It's always been there. It's just a refreshment.
Same thing with weight, with the weight problems?
Weight is huge. Weight is one of the most convoluted, I would say, issues to deal with, because there are so many emotional imprints. If we can just keep in mind that the subconscious mind is protectionary, and it'll do whatever it takes to keep that belief in place. So it could be loneliness. It's not about, you see a person who's obese and you go, oh my gosh, it's the way they eat.
Right.
It's not about what they eat. It's what their mind and body are doing together to protect the person. It's just amazing. Once they get it, the release. It's a release. It's a physical and emotional release.
See, that is a completely different way of us thinking about people who have eating problems.
Absolutely.
Rather than like, oh, look at them, they eat. Why are they eating like that?
Or an addict.
Yeah.
Or
addictions. They're all like this.
Absolutely, it's all like this. We're driven by our subconscious motivations and our subconscious beliefs. Our conscious mind may be able to want to override that and say rationally, I don't want that next hit, or I don't want to do this or that, or whatever it happens to be. But the subconscious mind, because it's the single most goal-oriented mechanism known to man, it will override it.
It'll say, I'm going to stay safe.
No, this is what you believe. No, this isn't going to happen. When you smoke or when you eat something, it makes you feel better. It fulfills that emotional need. So no, it ain't going to happen.
Wow, Rosa, these are incredible ideas to go back to these issues of emotions and saying, here's how we can free ourselves, so many of us, all of us are dealing with these issues, and you're really talking about a powerful therapy. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Rosa. It was an absolute pleasure having you on today. Thanks so much. Stay tuned, more P3 right after this.